Look at this squad up on the big screen. They are loving it. Look at that guy in the right. His head looks like a fucking orange. It's embarrassing. But anyway, today we're going to talk about, since we already discussed the rating, now we're going to discuss about how items, big, big, big changes. These are two really big things. And I feel like a lot of people don't fully understand that. So that's what we're doing today. All right, that's what I'm doing right now. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get you guys to understand it. So first, there's two real big like meta topics that we're talking about, and then we're gonna break them down each down. The item squish. That is topic number one. This is a huge fucking deal. All right, it really is. I don't think a lot of people understand how big of a deal this is. This is going to really increase the longevity of the video game because the numbers were absurd. They really were. I mean, people doing a million burst DPS now, meaning, if it carried on next expansion, the first tier, people would be doing a million easy. Like, it's just, it's not good. It's not good for the game. It feels dumb. It's stupid. So they squished it, but not so squished that it feels like classic where you're doing less than 100 DPS. I feel like Wrath was a good indicator of this. So what they've done is gone to about that level. 30k health is what players at the demo had at 530 eye level. So I'd imagine you'll probably have closer to like 75k, depending on how much health you gain per level when you do reach 100. That's going to be the big thing, because don't forget it's a 10 level expansion, so you'll gain a lot of health. You probably have closer to 100k by the time next expansion comes around, and then it's all reset. People are doing 30, 40k again. It's good. It feels a lot better. 100k would be probably like beast at the end of the expansion kind of thing. Very important. But what they're doing here is they're not going to change the power of the gear in comparison to the mobs you're fighting, right? At all. It says, they're very confident in saying this. So this is a very big deal. You're not ever going to notice the difference. You're just going to have smaller numbers, which is great. That's a really good thing. I like the item squish for that reason alone, because it's not actually changing the game. It's just helping regulate the numbers. And I don't know if you guys realize, but each digit is extra lag. You know what I mean? To send each number out is processing time. So the smaller numbers will actually probably help performance of the game, which is a good thing. Anyway, so then there's going to be a lot of tweaking with items. Let's see if I can find that slide. This is a huge fucking deal as well. I think this might be it. Probably not. But anyway, what they're doing here is, yeah, no, this is definitely not it. Anyway, forget it. What they're doing here is they're tweaking the items so they're a bit more dynamic, right? Because this might be the items should seem exciting, is what it says, right? This is very important. You want this. You don't want items to like. Great example, right? You get a new fucking helm in Siege of Orgrimmar, and it's almost like you don't even want to equip it because you have to go buy a new fucking 5 meta gems and then make the legendary again, then put it in, then put it on, and make sure it's hit capped and all this, and it's gemmed and all this. It's just a pain in the ass. So yeah, look at gem enchant reforge valor upgrade. Yuck, really? You know what I mean? This is. I agree. I agree. It is kind of a bit too much. So too much modification is not a good thing. What they're going to try to do is they're going to try to reparate that. Basically, here's the laundry list. Okay, hit and expertise gone. So I guess everybody is now going to be hit capped, and they're probably just going to take expertise out. I don't know how it's going to work. Dodge and parry as a stat gone. All right, these things are still going to be in the game, but you're not going to need to get them on gear. And then here's the big one: reforging gone. Check that off the list. No more reforging. So that is a really, really big deal. I don't necessarily like that reforging's gone, but I recognize the fact that it wasn't helping the game as much as they wanted it to. I always liked it, but now with the many different difficulties, it's going to be a lot more like BC, where it was like, damn, this item is best in slot. You know what I mean? This is the one I want. Not that one, not the other one. It's going to make gearing a lot more interesting. So that's a good thing. Now, what they're also doing is enchanting pieces is going to be different. There's going to be less pieces to enchant. So you've seen them already take away the helm enchant with Kata, stuff like that. So that is probably going to continue. I'd imagine there's maybe only weapon, maybe chest, boots. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. But there's going to be less enchanting pieces, but more options per piece is what it claims. And then there's going to be big changes for gems. The fucking rainbow gem shirts that you get on, you know what I mean? That's not going to fucking happen. There's not going to be 3 gem socks anymore. There's only going to be 1 sock per item. At least that's what they're claiming currently at BlizzCon. So the gems are going to be much more powerful and are not going to count towards the budget of the item, whereas they do now, right? So a good piece would have the right gem coordination and the right set bonus, and that's the best piece. If it didn't, then it's suboptimal because there's a piece out there with the right coordination. And there is not going to be any socket bonus anymore, and there's not going to be meta gems anymore, which is good. I mean, meta gems, look at back to BC, there wasn't even a healing meta gem. Like, they just didn't know what they were doing at the time, and they kept it in because they felt like they liked the decision, but it's not going to work anymore. So gearing is completely changed by these things. Obviously, no more reforging. What they're going to do here, though, is they're going to allow stats to switch based on spec. All right, so plate is going to drop, and it's going to, if I equipped it, my paladin, healing paladin, it's going to have intellect on it. It's going to have healing stats on it. If a tank equipped it, it's going to, or I guess a better example, if a ret equips it, it's going to have strength on it. You know what I mean? It's going to be itemized dynamically based on the person wearing it. This is the same thing with tier sets, okay? There's just going to be paladin tier. It's going to affect the cascade of abilities based on what spec you are, I'd imagine. And that's it. So all the paladins in the group are going to want the tier. All the priests in the group are going to want that tier, and all the locks in the group are going to want that tier. It's not going to be like, well, I have to pick, I want the healing tier or I want the ret tier, etc. So that's pretty cool as well. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. It's going to allow off-spec as well to happen really well. But they did say already jewelry like rings, trinkets, neck, stuff like that probably won't conform to this. So you're still going to have some pieces to consider, but for the most part, I should be able to go ret and do a pretty good job of killing stuff, just on the gear I have in Holy. Now, with that in mind, they're changing the way a lot of things work, all right? They've already said that there's not going to be such a huge, drastic jump from tier to tier and expansion to expansion. That's part of the item level squish conversation. So, where you went from, let's see, Uldor was 226 eye level at the low end, and ICC was 277 at the high end. That's a big jump. But then it gets even worse because that bloats. That gets higher as you go. So Mob, the first fucking tier, like 489, and now the last tier, you know what I mean? 580 is Heroic Warforged double upgraded. That's almost 100 points different. That is absurd how big a difference that is stat-wise. So they're going to try to cut that down. I don't know what that means for gearing and raids, but one could assume that with this information on the table, it's going to mean that there is going to be gear out there with 4 difficulties, pretty much 4 eye levels of gear, that is going to be, you're going to have to do some raiding to get it. There's no question about it. It's not just going to be the best, Mythic isn't always going to be the best option. It depends. It really does depend, especially when you're progressing through heroics, quote unquote. You might need some pieces from last year. I don't know. We'll see how this works. We will, obviously. If they don't make it good enough, if they don't make the jump too big, then that means that like heroic will be suitable for everything. It's going to be curious. It's very going to be strange, but either way, what they're hoping to elaborate on with that concept is tertiary stats, meaning they're going to add extra stats to gear that will not count towards the item budget that are fun stats. Lifesteal, avoidance, sturdiness, movement speed, cleave, to name a few, which is cool. I love the lifesteal concept and I love the movement speed concept. So that's pretty much the long and short of it. There's not going to be reforging. They haven't said if there's going to be Valor upgrading, but I assume, with reforging gone, I can't imagine. I don't know what they're going to do, but anyway, that is it. So if you have any questions about the itemization, I love this concept. I love it all. I love the fact that you're going to have to. The tertiary stats are probably the coolest thing to me, but I love the fact that you're going to have to really make a best in slot list. Like, it's not going to be like, yeah, this piece is good, I'll take it, and then reforge it. Nope, not going to happen anymore. So if you have any questions,